It is the Lowdown. It's all brought to you by Pickdawgz.com. Appreciate you guys checking that out. Please click the like and subscribe button. That'll help us out. And if you click the notification button, it'll let you know anytime one of these gets posted. Man, my ass forehead is just like barking today. I'm going to blow my nose and wipe my ass at the same time. Look at this. What happened? I must have had resting bitch face. Or, what was it? One crazy summer when you get slapped on the back and your face stays the same? Whatever. Maybe I'm too old for some of you guys to even know what I'm talking about here. But I do want to talk about my inner circle, my concrete inner circle. If you guys get a chance to check it out, you can text inner circle to that number. If you like placing big bets, you like winning big bets, then definitely check it out. It's for you. A little pricier, but I got to say, I think it's worth it. We've been stacking up units day after day. So you guys can find out all about it by texting that number or texting inner circle to that number. Excuse me. Now, what are we going to do today? I can start by talking about what I liked on Wednesday, and there were a couple things that were standing out to me. I thought the Kings at home, I did like the Mavericks over against this Pelicans team, Utah and Detroit over. I just think those teams are going to run up and down the floor. I went back to the South Dakota over, Indiana Butler over. College football, we talked about it, Kent State and Northern Illinois Toledo under. And I like Calgary in the NHL. I only bring that stuff up if you guys want to check it, see where my mind was. I know you can go back to the website and you can look and see how people are doing. It was funny because I was doing the morning show the other day with Costi, and Costi said that someone left a comment saying, "You guys have a website?" And I'm like, "You don't know about that yet?" So yeah, Pickdawgz.com, definitely check it out. And you guys can see the leaderboards, who's doing well in what sport, who's hot right now, all those things. Now, one of the things I do want to get to today, we just had the NFL trade deadline, and it is funny how it works. And now working in radio for over 25 years, sports talk radio, it does kind of change your fandom to a degree. It is weird for me. I grew up in a city where my football team left when I was 4, so I had nothing to do with them. The Orioles have been a part of my life for my entire life, and I grew up playing basketball and was the black sheep of my family. As I love the NBA. I love college hoops. And as I've said before, I was a pretty good basketball player. I know I don't look like it. I look more like Tim Allen and the Santa Claus. So it's hard to imagine. But yeah, at one point I was pretty damn good. It is funny, though, to think back and how everything kind of came together and played out. But, being in radio now and being a fan, so the way my fandom went, and I was a Mavericks fan. And I'm not anymore after what they did to Luka, and I'm not sure I can root for the Lakers. I guess I'll kind of be pulling for Luka. I do have other players around the league that I really like, and I think in the NBA and even college, I'm in Maryland. I like the Terps. I just like good basketball. So it doesn't matter if it's up tempo. The NBA All-Star game is trash, right? I don't want to see that type of stuff until we get to the end of the quarter or the fourth quarter when they're doing the different Kobe rules that they have. Those are more exciting when we watch the guys actually playing. So I don't care if it's an up-tempo game and we're watching, a college game get into the 180s or an NBA game getting up into the 240s because, it's to be expected with how all the advantages now in the league are on offense. And that goes for almost every single sport. So just something, I'm thinking about there and throwing it out when we're talking about the different things. But yeah, the way that the fandom works, you get into sports and after a while you start to understand hey, I'm not going to let that affect me. Yeah, in the moment I'm going to be angry when my team loses. But I'm not going to let it get to me. And you can't tell that to people that are fanatics that live and die by this. But I was always talking about the trade deadline, especially in the NFL, where everybody looks at winners and losers, and they do this with the NFL draft too, the guys that put winners and losers together. It's if I like that player and you drafted him, that makes you a winner. Or if you had a need and you drafted for your need, that makes you a winner, which I think that's just stupid. But when it comes down to it, just looking at how fans perceive things, it's these draft picks, they don't matter. They're not here. Minor leaguers aren't here in Major League Baseball. Doesn't matter. So get rid of them. We're trying to win now. And that's the fan perspective. So it was kind of funny. I grew up, or once I became an NFL fan, I was a Colts fan. I was watching Peyton Manning in college. And then whoever drafted Peyton Manning, I was going to be a fan of his. And that son of a bitch got drafted by the Indianapolis Colts. And I do radio in Baltimore, to which people hated my guts in the beginning. And maybe some of them out there still hate me. I remember going to a draft party, an NFL draft party, where I was wearing my Peyton Manning jersey, and some guy came up to me and puts his finger in my chest and he goes, "My dad died for that jersey." And I said, "Well, I got mine at Sports Authority for $70, so you can get one there. I don't think you have to go that far. And the guy was so pissed, but I didn't care. I mean, I was a smart-ass kid, but that guy was also being a jackass. That being said, once Peyton Manning went to the Broncos, I realized I wasn't a Colts fan. I was a Peyton Manning fan. So I root for the Ravens now because I think it's good for business. I'm not a bandwagon guy. God, when I started rooting for some of these teams, I think I've watched Peyton Manning win 2 championships. I went to the Super Bowl that he lost 43-8. It was the worst experience of my life. And everybody, wow, you went to a Super Bowl and had a bad time. Yeah, I get it. But the only reason I bring this up is they had the NFL trade deadline, and I'm talking to some Colts fans, and they're like, yeah, look at that. We got Sauce Gardner. This is awesome. Yeah, you also gave up 2 first-round picks and vastly overpaid for a guy that you're going to have to extend, and he's going to become the richest cornerback in all of football. And people can sit here and talk about the fact that he's just signed an extension. Yeah, but they're going to want to finagle this the way that they can to work out their money as well. But I don't think people realize how valuable draft picks are and getting cheap talent and being able to have depth and growth within to where you're not just constantly overpaying for free agents. So I thought it was laughable when Dallas fans thought they won because they got Quinnen Williams, who's awesome. And then Colts fans because they got Sauce Gardner. Yeah, you guys got better for this year, and I think you'll be better for a few years to come, but you're definitely going to miss those first-round picks. But yeah, the funny thing with all that too is like, I understand people being excited, and I'm not saying your team didn't get better. But on the flip side, I'm going, yeah, the Jets. What are they going to do with these draft picks? You guys are going to screw it up. You know it. You know it. You just know you're going to do something stupid. They'll take 3 of them and trade for a quarterback. Draft 5 players that can't play you a lick. I mean, actually, last time when they had multiple draft picks, they did okay, grabbing like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and a bunch of good players. But here we are. We're right back at square one with this going on yet again. So I just thought it was interesting, something we were talking about on the show with free agency and how fans and other people will view sports in general, what's successful and what you should do. Is it smarter for a team to try to keep the window open, meaning you're a playoff team year after year after year, and having an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, a championship, and World Series, whatever? Or is it okay to just push your chips in the middle and say, screw the future, we're trying to win now? Yes, when it's the Rams and it works out, great. But there have been so many other teams that have done that, and it hasn't worked out for them, whether it's spending all the money in the offseason. So you may not agree with me. That's fine. But I think when you look at it, there are times when you push your chips in and you feel like you have something special. So I kind of like what the Colts did, but they vastly overpaid. And when you look at it, I mean, you traded away Micah Parsons to go get somebody, different position, different type of pressure. But I think both those players are fantastic. Can't argue that at all. In Cincinnati, you traded away 2 defensive players, and your defense was already historically bad, so it's going to be fun to watch Joe Flacco's arm fall off as he throws 80 passes each and every game. Anyway, let's get to these games. I'm getting cotton mouth here talking as I've been rambling so much. And as I've said before, so on Thursday's pod, Monday's pod, and I'd even say, college football, NFL on those days too, I've already got my prop plays together. I did put a couple of props down that I like for this game in specific, for Thursday Night Football, and that's where the free play is going to be. I'll talk more about that when we get there, but I go over what my algorithm spits out for the players. And, you might hear a 3.4 receptions. No, I don't. I know he can't get 0.4 reception. It's just an average. So you can kind of get the gist looking at where the props are. And it's weird. When we get to it, we'll talk about some unders that we're seeing in the prop plays. And the model that I have really likes a lot of these under receptions, which I don't agree with it, but we'll talk about it at that point. Let's talk about these college games briefly. Because, again, this first game, I'm actually going to be going with the chalk, and that's not something you'll usually hear me say, which more than likely means I probably won't be betting this game, just full disclosure, because I don't like betting with chalk, even when my numbers are telling me to go that way. Doesn't mean I won't. I'm just saying I prefer to be on the opposite side. But UTSA at South Florida favored by 14. I mean, I feel like it's kind of range there. I did see some 13.5s out there. I don't know which way this line's actually going to go. There is more money coming in on South Florida. I'm going to tell you to bet South Florida because, honestly, if they get ahead, I just don't know how UTSA's offense keeps up, and they're coming off of a huge win. Remember, we were on them last week. They had a big game and won outright. This is a lot because if you remember this South Florida team, they pieced up a few teams at the beginning of the year that were really good, or what we thought were going to be good, and then Miami got them. But they've played well, and they've played some tough opponents, and I feel like this is a spot where even though I'm not betting it, I have no problem telling you to, because I think it is the right side. I think South Florida, and it total 68.5. It's a high total. The other game has a high total as well. I think you could peek at the over, but it's a lot. It's a lot. But I don't know how UTSA stops South Florida's offense, honestly. So, yeah, give me South Florida. Let's go to the next game. Georgia Southern at App State. App State -6. 62.5 is the total. This is the game where I like the over. And I like the over in both games, if I'm being brutally honest, but I prefer this one just because I think both teams can continue to score. We have a closer spread here. A lot of times in blowouts, we see games go under. So I just think it's a really good spot for an overplay with Georgia Southern and App State. And yeah, I think we see points, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on that play. So do with that what you will. We'll get to my freemium here in a second, even though my favorite play in the NFL game is on the total, and that's what I'm going to be giving out as my premium play. I mean, even looking at a lot of the props and where they are and seeing what my model's saying, it kind of, I think some things are twisted there and kind of, what's the right word? It's kind of weird when you see two things that you trust and you use on different sides, meaning it almost makes you want to exit out. But when I started looking at some of these lines and how they matched up with what the algorithm projects, yeah, I feel like I have a great play on the total on Thursday night. But let's do this. Let's talk about Las Vegas at Denver. Denver's favored by 9. 43.5 is the total. So what do we have here? Just a real quick talk about both teams. The Raiders did trade away one of their receivers to Jacksonville. So as you start looking at it, when I go over the receivers, I'm blanking on his name now, and I can't believe I'm doing this. Former Patriot, it'll come to me. But anyway, so with that being said, I have the other receivers listed here, one of which I am interested in because I do think he's going to get more targets. But we'll get to that point when it comes down to it. All right. Jacoby Myers, right? Yeah. So I'm not looking it up. He got traded to Jacksonville, I believe. So, all right, here's what it's spitting out. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Bo Nix, 245 yards passing, 1.8 touchdowns. 22 yards rushing. Geno Smith, 219 yards passing, 1.08 TDs. So basically, they're expecting one touchdown pass. Ashton Genty, 18 rushes. And I'm giving you the rush attempts because I think these are interesting because they're saying that they expect two backs in this game to get the bulk of the carries, where we've seen not a full split because I do think Dobbins and Ashton have been getting the bulk of the carries. But what I'm saying is we've seen Harvey come on. We've seen some of the other backs here with Jonte and trying to spell him a little bit. So doesn't surprise me. But anyway, 18 rush attempts for 78 yards. Dobbins, 18 rush attempts for 79 yards. They don't see Dobbins much in the pass game, but they have Ashton getting 3.3 receptions for 29 yards. I don't know, I'm getting coughing now. Brock Bowers is back. Had a killer week last week with 3 touchdowns. They have him getting 6.5 receptions and 76 yards. The interesting thing is one of the models I use loves him to go under his receptions, which just happens to be 6.5. The other model has him right at 6.5. And he's coming off of this big week. I could see one of these plays going on. It liked them under yards as well, which do we see something weird from the Denver defense and just saying, hey, Bowers isn't beating us. Let's see Trey Tucker or someone else do it. Go throw it to Michael Mayer. But Bowers, 6.5 receptions for 76 yards. Cortland Sutton, 4.3 receptions for 60 yards. Franklin, 4.3 receptions for 57 yards. And Trey Tucker, 4 receptions for 48 yards. So, I mean, you can kind of hear some of the things that I'm projecting here, and not that it's just going based off of this model solely. I like Cortland Sutton under 4.5 receptions in this game. I think the Raiders are going to play close attention to him. And, even seeing the model having him at 4.3 receptions, I still think we're getting some value on the under there. He could still have a good game with 3 or 4 catches. That's just the difference because he's a big play guy. But I like that. And on the flip side, I like Trey Tucker over 3.5 receptions. The one thing we don't know is who's going to get all of Jacoby Myers' targets now. Is Brock Bowers? Because it's interesting how the Raiders work. They'll use Brock Bowers as a target right off the line, kind of like maybe Aaron Rodgers back when he had Jermichael Finley, and I know it's a long time ago. More recently, if you want to talk about Travis Kelce, they'll throw the ball to him right off the line of scrimmage and let him stiff arm somebody and see if he can pick up 8 yards. I mean, he had a weird game against the Chargers this year, I think it was, where he had 8 receptions for 33 yards. He's going to get targets and he's going to catch the ball. That's why it worries me to bet his under. And when you take another top receiver out, how much more attention does he get from Geno Smith? Because make no mistake about it, that's the number one guy in the offense. And as far as the passing game goes, we'll see what happens with Jonte. But yeah, so that's my only thought on this with Cortland Sutton going under. Trey Tucker, we don't know what's going to happen, but I do think he's going to get more snaps, which leads to more opportunities to get more receptions. And if you're looking at the game, even though I'm going to suggest taking the Raiders plus the points, you would say game flow would tell you, or game theory would tell you that Denver's going to be ahead. That means the Raiders should be throwing late, right? With that being said, I'll take my chances with Trey Tucker over 3.5 receptions. I think it's a great prop play. So I am going to be on both of those prop plays. They will be included with my Thursday night total. But I do like the Raiders as well. It's just I prefer the total in this matchup more so than Las Vegas. Appreciate you guys watching this. I'll have another podcast tomorrow. But I always say, I know I ran through the lines really fast. You don't have to sit here and just try to write it all down. I will post them in the morning so you guys can see it. Sometimes I rerun the algorithm in the morning and it adjusts. So if you hear me say 73 yards and then when I type it in, it's 71, it happens from time to time. Like I said, it's a fluctuation. So, but with that being said, I do think these prop plays are good. They'll be included with my NFL play. So if you guys want to check that out, head over to pickdawgz.com. You can see all the premium plays over there. I'm constantly putting up triple plays where, I got to hit 2 out of the 3. Where you get a credit back. All my plays, I post them as solos as well, and I try to give you a little bit of a write-up of what I'm looking at without, totally giving away everything. But sometimes it's hard to say, hey, I like this home dog, and all of a sudden you start looking at the schedule, and it's there's 2 home dogs, and I don't think there's any way anybody likes that one. And I try to give some information on there as well. But appreciate you guys. Check it out at pickdawgz.com. I'll be back tomorrow. Hope you win some cash.